a man named Nelson looks heartbroken while aboard a ship named Poseidon because his lover has just left him. He goes outside to get some air and eventually decides to kill himself. Just as he's about to jump off the ship, he suddenly gets terrified as he sees a really tall wave coming toward him. A few hours earlier on the ship, a man named Dylan is approached by a lady named Elena who says she's looking for the gallery. Dylan is surprised because all the passengers were taken on a tour of the boat, but he doesn't seem to care much, so he just directs her to where she's going. On her way, a kitchen staff named Valentine drags her into the kitchen and asks why she's outside. She says she got bored inside, but Valentine begs her to go back because he could lose his job if anyone realizes that he smuggled her onto the boat. Even though she agrees to go back into the room, she goes to the club instead. Elsewhere, the ship's captain, Bradford, welcomes everyone aboard the ship and invites a singer named Gloria to entertain the guests. Shortly after, Dylan is at a poker game with a former mayor named Robert and another guy named Lucky Larry. As Dylan appears to be winning, Robert's daughter, Jennifer, comes over to meet her father at the table with her boyfriend, Christian. Robert doesn't seem to like what Jennifer is wearing, and as he complains in front of the other men, she walks away angrily and leaves for the club with Christian. After the game, Dylan bumps into a boy named Connor as he's walking away. As he helps the boy up, his mom, Maggie, comes over to meet him. After they get Connor to leave, Dylan introduces himself to Maggie, and they seem to get along well. Meanwhile, Nelson is at a table with his friends, and there he tells them that his lover has just left him and that he's heartbroken. He eventually excuses himself and says he needs to go outside to get some air. Just then, Gloria leads everyone to do the New Year countdown, after which the celebrations begin. However, in the ship's control room, one of the staff hears something unusual and thinks something is off. A while later, Nelson sees that his lover hasn't sent any messages or called him to talk things through like he wanted. He gets disappointed and starts contemplating what to do next. Meanwhile, one of the ship's officers spots a rogue wave ahead. The height of the wave scares the officer, and he tells his colleagues to start trying to turn the ship around. Elsewhere, Nelson suddenly decides to jump off the ship, but as he looks up, he sees the wave and immediately changes his mind, after which he goes back inside. As the officers in the control room fail to turn the ship just in time, they're forced to disrupt the celebrations inside the boat. They immediately warn everyone to brace for impact, but before much can be done, the wave hits and it affects the ship severely. It kills a couple of people and also causes a few explosions before the ship completely capsizes. As everything settles, most of the people on the ship appear to have drowned, but a number of people in the main cabin are still alive. Bradford appears to be injured, but he still calls for calm. Maggie also appears to have survived, but she can't find Connor anywhere. She keeps looking around with no success until Robert helps her spot the boy hanging from a piano at the top. Even though Maggie is scared because she doesn't know how to save him, Robert helps bring him down safely. Elsewhere, Jennifer is also unhurt, but Christian's leg is stuck under a heavy metal. Jennifer sees Elena walking around and asks for her help to lift the metal. However, they're unable to lift it. They then realize that they need something to push the metal up. Elena offers to check for anything useful, even though she's scared to be walking around dead bodies. Meanwhile, Bradford addresses the passengers and informs them that they were hit by an unpredictable rogue wave. He, however, tells them to remain patient because help is on the way, and they'll all be safe as long as they don't panic. While the captain is talking, Dylan doesn't look interested, and he starts plotting a way to leave. Connor sees him and asks what he's up to, and he says he's leaving. Elsewhere, Robert goes to meet Bradford to ask where the club is, but the captain tells him to remain in the main cabin. He, however, gets impatient and says he needs to find his daughter immediately. As Dylan is trying to leave, Connor comes over with Maggie to meet him. Maggie asks if it's possible to leave, and Dylan says he's going to go through the bow thrusters since the boat is now upside down. Robert sees them talking and also learns that Dylan is trying to leave. As Maggie says they need to listen to the captain and stay put, Nelson shows up and says it's risky because ships aren't built to be upside down for too long. Robert says it's best they work together after he finds his daughter, but Dylan insists on going alone. However, Robert sees Valentine and asks if he knows his way around the ship. Valentine says he does, and with this, Robert convinces Dylan that they could work together to find out the best route to get to the bow thrusters safely. Just as they're leaving, Bradford sees them and thinks they're making the wrong choice. So he tells one of his officers to seal the doors to keep the others in the main cabin safe. As they walk around, They see how scattered everywhere looks, but Dylan soon finds a service elevator. After opening it, he discovers that the elevator is dangling from the top. He also spots an exit opposite the door, so he says they need to go through there. He makes it there first, after which he and Nelson lift the others across. As it's left with only Nelson and Valentine, the elevator starts shaking. Valentine panics, and the bench they're walking through falls. He, however, survives by holding on to Nelson, who is also being held by Dylan. He tries to lift both of them up, but they're too heavy for him. Because the elevator is about to fall, Dylan tells Nelson to shake Valentine off to save himself. Even though he hesitates at first, Nelson does it, and as Valentine falls, he quickly gets saved before the elevator explodes. Elsewhere, Elena sees Lucky Larry still alive. She then takes him back to help find a way to save Christian. Even though he seems quite arrogant, he still manages to find a way to lift the metal to save Christian. Meanwhile, Dylan and the others find another door, and as they go through it, they see Jennifer, Christian, Elena, and Lucky Larry. Robert is happy to see his daughter, and he thanks Christian for saving her, but he says she's the one who saved him. Nelson sees Elena panicking and goes to meet her. He offers her a bottle of water and asks how she's doing. She then tells him that she's going to meet her sick brother in New York. She also adds that she couldn't afford the boat's ticket, and a kitchen staff helped her in. Elsewhere, Dylan finds another exit, but after everyone goes through, they see a deep hole with water at the bottom. Not long after, Dylan discovers that they can go to the other side to try to find an exit. Everyone then slowly walks through a heavy metal to get to the other side. However, before Jennifer can go, Lucky Larry insists that he wants to go next. He sounds quite aggressive and also insults Robert for how his time as mayor went. Robert tries to fight Larry, but Dylan and Jennifer stop him. They then choose to let Larry go through without helping him. Unfortunately, he doesn't go too far before a large engine falls on him and takes the heavy metal bridge with it. As it also has some oil in it, it causes an explosion, but no one gets hurt. While Robert says they need to find another route to join the others, Dylan says he can still go through. Robert thinks it's too dangerous, but Jennifer says she'll follow Dylan if he's sure his plan will work. She then shows her dad that Christian proposed to her not long ago, and she doesn't want to lose him. Robert is shocked by this, but before he can say much, Dylan jumps into the pool of water at the bottom with a heavy hose. He manages to survive and get to the other side, after which he connects the hose to help Robert and Jennifer get through successfully. Elsewhere, Bradford suddenly sees that the pressure of the water is now causing the glass windows to crack. He realizes what's about to happen and hugs Gloria as the main cabin then gets flooded, with all the passengers there dying. Meanwhile, Dylan and the others see that the water around them is now rising. They find a small vent and decide to go through it to see where it leads. While everyone moves in, Elena is scared, but Dylan and Nelson manage to convince her to go in. Robert then gets to the end of the vent, only to discover that it's locked. As he tries to push it open, Nelson gets stuck while climbing up. Elena is the only one who can help him, but she's too scared to do anything. Dylan then tells her that Nelson will die if no one helps him. She finally gets the courage to push him up and free him. However, water starts entering the vents. Robert calls on Connor to use his small hands to try to twist the screws of the vent's exit. The screws are very tight, so Connor can't do anything. Robert asks if anyone has something that can be used to turn the screw. Luckily, Elena has a pendant that can help, and she passes it to Connor. While the little boy tries to free them, the water gets to Dylan and gradually starts getting past him. He eventually gets covered by the water, but it's just as Connor is able to open the vents, so Dylan survives. They then keep walking until they get inside a big tank. Dylan believes that the tank could lead to an open hatch, so he starts thinking of what to do. However, the only exit available to them is through a pressure valve that will only open when pressured. Dylan suggests filling the tank with water while they're all inside, but the others look scared. With no other options, Robert suggests giving it a try, and Dylan starts filling the tank. When the tank eventually gets filled, the pressure valve fails to open, and the passengers think they'll drown. Luckily, the pressure valve eventually opens, and they enter another tank. There, Dylan finds an open hatch and tells the others to follow him. While the others successfully get to safety, Elena gets stuck while swimming. As she struggles to free herself, she bangs her head against a metal and starts bleeding. Nelson sees that Elena is no longer behind him, so he tracks back only to see that she's unconscious. Robert and Dylan also go back to check on Nelson and Elena. When they bring Elena out to a dry spot, Robert tries to bring her back, but his efforts are futile as it turns out she's dead. Dylan and the others look devastated by this, but they keep moving. as they find a map showing the ship's parts. Dylan says he knows where the bow thruster room is and that if they can get there, they'll finally get out. However, when they start walking there, they realize that the whole place has been flooded and they won't be able to swim there because it's too far. Dylan is left speechless by this, but Robert tells everyone that they can still find another way out. As they all then wait inside a room looking helpless, a series of explosions happen, leading to a massive flow of water across where they are. Maggie gets caught up in it while trying to find Connor, and the water takes her away. Meanwhile, Robert realizes that the explosions have helped free the way to the bow thruster room. While he gets the others to move there, Dylan offers to find Maggie first. He then checks around until he finds Maggie still alive. She mentions that she can't find Connor, and he says they'll find the kid together. While going around shouting his name, Connor hears them and mentions where he is. When they find him, he appears to be stuck inside a room that is gradually getting filled with water. Dylan tries to break through the window to save Connor, but it doesn't work. As Maggie then cries because her son is about to drown, Dylan takes another route and finds the door. However, it turns out to be too hard to open. Elsewhere, Robert and the others find the propeller tubes leading to the bow. As Nelson tries to open the tube's door, he gets hit with a massive wind that injures him. Robert then takes a closer look and sees that the engines are still running. Because they won't be able to go out if the engines are not stopped, Robert tells Christian that they have to get to the control room. Christian thinks it's a dangerous idea because the control room is already flooded, and if they swim there, they might not make it back. He suggests throwing things inside the propeller tubes to stop the propellers from working, but Robert says it won't work because they are spinning in the opposite direction. Robert says he can go to the control room, but Christian offers to go instead because he has a better chance of swimming fast and returning safely. Robert agrees with Christian, but this leaves Jennifer devastated because either of them could go and possibly not return. However, Christian tells her he's going to come back. Robert sees how much his daughter likes Christian, and before they face him, he decides to go to the control room himself. Christian and Jennifer are shocked by this, but they're unable to stop him. Shortly after, Robert gets to the control room, but discovers that the stop button is damaged. While looking worried about what to do next, he's unable to hold his breath for too long. As he's dying, though, he taps on a button to reverse the engines. Elsewhere, water fills the room Connor is stuck, and as Maggie looks terrified because her son will die, Dylan shows up and saves him. Together, they then head over to meet the others. When they get there, Dylan asks for Robert. Christian tells him what happened and that it seems Robert's plan has worked because the engine has stopped running. Dylan doesn't look happy and thinks about going to save Robert, but it's too dangerous, so he stays back. However, the engine starts running again, and Dylan doesn't seem to understand what's happening. Christian then sees that the direction of the wind has changed. He figures out that since Robert couldn't stop the engine, he reversed it to create suction so that they can throw things inside the tube to jam the propellers and stop them from working. Dylan says it's a brilliant idea, after which he asks Christian to pass him a small red tank. Following this, he tries to throw it into the tube, but it gets stuck at the entrance. The wind gets too intense, and all the remaining survivors have to hold on to something. Shortly after, Dylan realizes that they'll all die if the tank doesn't go in. Seeing as there's no other option, Dylan pushes himself towards the entrance so he can try to get the tank sucked in. This looks very dangerous because he could also get sucked in, but he doesn't seem to care as he hopes to save the others in the process. After a while, the tank finally gets sucked in and it destroys one of the propellers, causing an explosion that almost kills Dylan. Luckily, he survives and looks happy to see that they can now get out. He immediately gets the others to come with him, and as they finally see their way out, they look relieved. However, an explosion happens right behind them, and they're forced to jump into the sea and swim towards a life raft. When they're all inside, a series of explosions causes the ship to turn over again. As it almost falls on them, they start paddling away very fast. With this, they get to a safe distance and watch the ship sinking. They all look terrified watching this, and Jennifer also thinks about her father, who appears to have died in the control room. Shortly after, Dylan finds a flare gun and shoots it into the sky, hoping that help is nearby. Even though nothing happens for a while, 2 helicopters suddenly fly toward them, and the survivors look happy as they're about to be saved.